Hello world, welcome, or welcome back. I'm Goddess Dawn. It's Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, and I'm here with some R. Kelly case updates. I'm really just here to record the video. It takes such shorter time to do a live than to actually produce a video. Hi, L. Good Enough. I'm probably not going to interact too much with the chat. I didn't even tell anyone I was coming on. I have no mods. Do you mind modding for me, L? Just in case. Let me know. I know there's a delay, so I'll give you a second. In the meantime, I want to welcome everyone who is in the bushes on the replay. And again, welcome to you, L. Hi, Della. Yeah, it's early. I need a mod. Anybody want to volunteer? Let me know. Okay, for the sake of just moving things along, I'm going to just go ahead on with this commentary. Ask another. Okay. I think I can handle this myself, actually. It's kind of weird early in the morning, so I think we'll be all right. All right, so like I said, I'm here with some R. Kelly case updates. As we know that there were some filings last week, motion to dismiss the RICO, but there were also filings yesterday. We had a response from the government with regard to some discovery motions that were filed about a month ago. We also had another motion by the defense to strike and dismiss counts and some other things. It's all good, L. No worries. Okay, so before I go there with these filings, there have been quite a few happenings in the news. Aside from that, I don't even know if those things were reported on. I just happened to check the source and see that these filings had taken place yesterday. So I'm just kind of coming on here. I want to get this down and record it. Aside from these particular filings, which is one of them is the prosecution, aka the government. They filed a response to the defense's discovery related motions that were filed in the Illinois federal court. And also the defense filed another motion to dismiss in the New York case. And I'm going to go through those now. But again, before I do, I'd like to first acknowledge another L collected by Rico, aka Sylvester Kelly. He got a default judgment in the Heather Williams civil case. This is the case where 3 or more attorneys had quit previously. The judge gave like a 30-day deadline, I believe, for Sylvester to respond with new counsel, and it looks like he failed to make that happen. And I know in cases like this, it is separate from the legal cases that he's facing, although I do believe Heather Williams is a witness / victim also in those other cases, or one of the other cases. However, this was a civil case separate from the legal cases that he's facing. But it seems to me that his legal defense would have aided him in making sure that his deadline was met. It's only a good look for them for him to stay on top of his stuff, even though, yeah, he's locked up, but the show must go on. This case had been granted a default previously, financial or otherwise, provided to a witness included by federal, state, or local government actors. It's interesting they note actors, and I hate to even say that, but the government has no objection to producing such records relating to federal agencies 1 month prior to trial. But the government objects to this request to the extent it seeks records relating to state or local agencies. First, with one exception, the government has no such records in its possession with respect to state or local agencies. And second, there are separate sovereigns that are not a part of the federal prosecution team. Defendant has cited no authority that requires the government to seek out records from separate sovereign governments that are not a part of the prosecution team. Okay. And the final, I believe this is the final, item that is addressed is law enforcement complaints. It says the defendant had way. Moreover, the government does not anticipate that the trial will involve the testimony of many law enforcement witnesses. Most of the government's witnesses will be victims and witnesses with firsthand knowledge of the defendant's crimes. Therefore, the volume of material relating to potential testifying law enforcement witnesses will not be great to the extent any materials exist at all. Thus, there is no need to produce these documents abnormally far in advance of trial. Abnormally far. So they're, continuing to ask for things outside of what is in the norm. Second, the government objects to defendant's request for unproven allegations of misconduct by law enforcement officers, in addition to his request for records of actual incidents of false testimony or statements. So they're asking the prosecution to give them the dirt on the law enforcement officers that plan on testifying. Okay. The government has no duty to disclose unproven and unsustained allegations of misconduct by law enforcement officers because such allegations do not constitute the Brady or Giglio material. So that's pretty much the response from the government on those discovery motions. Per their past responses or previous responses, it seems very much in line with those, with a lot of strong precedents and language to defend what they're doing. The letter that was filed by the fan, this letter is dated February 25th, 2020. Well, it was filed, on that date and dated February 18th. And it's really just a very, nice letter about Robert Sylvester Kelly. I mean, it's really not worth reading, but since it was mentioned, I can just sum that up. It just basically says this person is writing this letter because his bail is quickly approaching, bail hearing, and it says that Robert Sylvester Kelly has a strong personality with a desire for self-improvement, especially through the challenges he's facing. I have every confidence that Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly has developed the new skills needed to avoid any bad decisions, as well as the people he surrounds himself around. I'm also fully aware of the gravity of the allegations in this case. Myself and many others have no doubt if bail is granted, Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly will go on to once again being a solid, upstanding figure in his community and all around. This is very laughable as I read this, but it goes on to say, I honestly and strongly believe Mr. Robert Kelly shouldn't be considered a serious risk if released, as he knows the seriousness of this matter. He has always made a commitment to fulfilling his obligations, which also brings strong confidence that he will comply with any and every condition of his release. Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly would keep his word, face his obligations, and honor his responsibilities as he meets his challenges head on. It is my hopes that this letter regarding Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly and his case will act as a positive and contributing factor when the court considers this matter. And in my opinion, this is not strong enough to combat the litany of charges he's facing, as well as the past behaviors that we've seen. And some of the charges actually allude, they're direct to this behavior with the coercion and the manipulation and all those things with regard to witnesses. So, good luck on that. The other thing that was filed yesterday, March 2nd, 2020. Yesterday was Monday. This particular filing was in the in the Eastern District of New York. And it is a request by the defense to strike allegations from count 1 of the superseding indictment and dismiss remaining counts. So this is a new filing. This is not the one that was filed last week to dismiss the RICO charges. This is a separate one. So basically they're going through and sounds like they're trying to get all the stuff just dropped. I'll go through some of this. And it says defendant Robert Kelly, by and through his attorneys, respectfully moves this court to strike count 1 Let me get that off of there. To strike count 1 from the superseding indictment, statutory allegations, and to dismiss the remaining counts which rely upon an unconstitutional statute. It says the defendant is charged with 1 count of violating the RICO statute relating to 6 victims, Jane Doe's numbers 1 through 6, and 4 substantive counts of violating the Mann Act, all of which involved only Jane Doe number 6. The racketeering is alleged in count 1, and the violations of the Mann Act counts 2 through 5. Okay, so it goes on to go through the predicate acts and all the different counts, and very specifically speaks to different statutes in New York. And it's calling the statute unconstitutional on its face. It's saying that it prohibits sexual intercourse by anybody who has an STD. The definition is vast, ranging from HIV to yeast infections. It includes HPV and scabies, is what it's quoting here. It's saying the only requirement that the individual knows that they have is that they have a venereal disease. In other words, it prohibits 2 consenting adults from having sexual intercourse if either or both know they have an infectious venereal disease. It does not require that the disease be passed on, nor does it allow the consenting adults to have sexual intercourse if the venereal disease is disclosed beforehand. It does not permit the use of a condom or account for modern day suppression of drugs. So they're referring to old laws, or let me see here. Okay, it's referring to public health law sections in the New York penal law, and saying that they're outdated. Basically, they're saying that these laws are outdated because there's a lot of things that it doesn't include, or that it's really defining it in a way that doesn't apply today. And then it goes on to define the relevant sexual terms by the New York Penal Code. It says this law has a definition of sexual intercourse. Traditionally, that term has been advanced contract between the male's penis and the woman's vagina. This gets very detailed and specific. And it's the whole bottom line of this is that it says the law does not appear to address or prohibit other forms of sexual contact, such as oral sex or anal sex. It imposes a complete ban of one form of sexual interaction, whenever someone has an infectious venereal disease. It says it's written as an absolute, with the elements being 1, that if an individual knows they have an STD, and 2, they are then prohibited from having sexual intercourse. As written, it is an improper invasion of the right of privacy because it makes it illegal to have private consensual sexual intercourse. So that's where this ends up, is the invasion of privacy. Substantive due process prohibits the government from limiting the right to engage in private consensual sexual intercourse without fear of criminal liability. Private sexual contact between consenting adults involves a fundamental liberty interest that triggers a non-differential review whenever the government seeks to prescribe such contact. Sorry for the boring legal language, but so basically they're just summing this up as this is an invasion of privacy. It's between 2 consenting adults. Regardless if someone has an STD or not, they shouldn't be prohibited from being able to, have consensual sex, and if everybody's being upfront. But I don't think that's the case when we're talking about the charges that RICO is up against. When I say RICO, I mean Sylvester. When I say Sylvester, I mean R. Kelly, for all of you who are new to this channel. So what I'm reading again is a new filing by R. Kelly's defense to dismiss and strike counts and charges from the New York case. And, it has to do with the privacy of the individuals regarding sexual contact. It has to do with the public health law. What I'm seeing is that it's saying it doesn't address a lot of things because it's dated. So it doesn't necessarily apply to RICO or to R. Kelly. It goes on to say, collectively, the cases stand for the proposition that private sexual decisions made by consenting adults invariably involve a fundamental liberty interest protected by the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, one that absolutely shields private sexual conduct from the reach of government intervention. So they're saying the government doesn't have any business getting into these matters. This includes intercourse because it's a promise of the Constitution that there is a realm of personal liberty which the government may not enter. And they reference another case here, which they say this case establishes the right to sexual privacy and that it's constitutional law. So this says the New York statute fails to recognize the right to privacy by imposing a wholesale prohibition on intercourse. So they're saying if you have an STD, then, you shouldn't be punished. And the matters that happen between you and the other person are private. So the government shouldn't even be involved. So under this, they're trying to get all these charges dismissed, or these counts dismissed. Let me see. They go on to say, I'm wrapping this up. It does not have any qualifiers. It does not have any contingency. It only prohibits, nor can it be saved by judicial construction or interpretation. The law does not permit us to take a common sense look at the statute and read into it things that are not there, such as a requirement that there be disclosure for knowing consent, or even that there be consent. On its face, the law is invalid and cannot be the footing for a state law violation RICO predicate. So, this goes on into RICO as well. This could be a follow-up because honestly, it seems to go into a lot of the same issues with regard to the RICO Act. So, yeah. Their motion to dismiss count 1 of the superseding indictment was one that was filed last week on February 28th. And this is the one with regard to the RICO statute. So it just seems that they're systematically, the defense, R. Kelly's defense, to make it clear, is systematically going through all of the charges. They have now they're dealing with the superseding indictment and just trying to get them all knocked off. So, in my opinion, I think there's too much. They're doing a broad stroke on this, and I doubt that that it's going to be pulled off. I think they're doing these things ahead of the March 5th hearing to strengthen his bond, his ability to get bond, which again I don't feel is going to happen. There's just too much. It's a litany, just mountains of things, evidence, again, previous behaviors, the charges themselves, which include, the coercion and things, which is the reason he shouldn't be out, right? So, let's see. So again, the government has, for this particular motion that was filed yesterday, the strikes and the dismissals that are being requested, the government hasn't been given a deadline date to respond yet. But the one regarding the RICO Act, they have until March 20th to respond. And then the defense is going to have until the March 27th to respond to the response. So I'm sure we're going to probably also hear a response from this response also, because they do have that authority to be able to come back, or that ability to come back and respond. But it's very weak in my opinion. And I think, let's see. But yeah, so in regards to, the defense and these motions, in summary, it just reads to me as if the defense is playing games and asking for things that are out of the norm. But these are stall tactics, or tactics to confuse and further muddy the waters already dirty by Kelly himself. And now, and then in regard to the second motion that was filed to strike and dismiss by the defense, what I'm reading, that there are objections to some of the charges due to privacy concerns and their definition of sexual intercourse. They're challenging that, which is stated by the New York Public Health. Again, more legal tactics, which is to be expected. The government, they have again till March 20th to respond to those latest filings. I'm very interested in what will be relayed in the response filing. And I guess that's going to be it for now. I just wanted to cover these things. These are very recent from yesterday. So, and I hadn't seen anything in the news, and really I hadn't looked, to be honest with you, but I just wanted to throw this stuff out there. And just to show that, this is going to be an ongoing back and forth between the government and the defense. The defense is going to do everything that they can to put this thing off, even though Daryl McDavid, I don't think I addressed that. The co-defendant, when I was last on live, I think I did talk about it, but he filed for a speedy, and he wants to basically get the trial done in April, which it's already been pushed to July at this point because of the superseding indictment. So I don't think that he will be getting that granted, because it's kind of like, who are you to be asking us to do this thing real quick and in a hurry? And I think it's just because he doesn't want more charges dug up on him in the meantime, because the government is steadfastly working continuously up until probably trial, and maybe during trial too, to continue to get the dirt and get the people that they need in order to put that dirt right back over R. Kelly in the grave that he lays in currently. So with that being said, I think that's it for now. Thank you as always for stopping by, giving me your time. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe on your way out and like this video, and also comment your thoughts. I'm always here for that. Until next time, be blessed and peace